the one and only, almost the one and only, that offers this feature that I can so tidily and neatly arrange my patterns and compositions and sounds into a very accessible manner where I can actually edit on the fly. Yeah, it's funny. And so that's the way that I do it. And yeah, they're all MIDI synced. The digitone is the master, which then octatrack is slaved, and then the rhythm is slaved. Why the digitone is the master? Because this is my feature request to Electron right now. Because digitone is the only one that can store BPM per pattern, which is a huge omission. Look at that. And I tell, but here we are. So that's why the digitone is the master, so that I know which composition will follow which BPM. On these other machines, you have to remember them or note them down. Yeah. So you guys have got any questions? If not, thank you very much for coming. Oh, there's. Yeah.
Do you use the dual VCO on the rhythm?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I didn't use it in this set.
What was the question?
The dual VCO on the rhythm, is it being used? I didn't. To be honest, I just prepared the set yesterday and today, where we're staying. So yeah, I didn't really look into that. But how the rhythm was working, it was very drums and very tom, like full drums. This was like the lights, sample-based, that type of stuff. So they complemented each other, and that's why they needed dual VCO there. Yeah. So no. Yeah.
I have a quick question. I saw you on the octave track. I saw you pushing the button. It's like creating a repeat.
Yeah.
Like a repeat. Yeah.
And if you ask
I
my.
saw you holding the button and then it was repeating. Maybe I was going fast. I don't know.
But it is. When I hold it, it's at that moment of what the music is being fed, or no, what the music that is being out from the octave track gets looped as I press it. And that loop has a time division which can be modified. When I hold the button, these light up, maybe you can see it. And when these light up, these actually modify the timing of the loop that I am picking out. So it's kind of a beat trip effect. But what is really neat here is that the way that I set up the delay engine, that causes the beat trip effect, is when I capture that audio, the audio that is coming out from the octave track doesn't get muted. So the effect and the dry signal can be heard at the same time. If you don't do it like that, when you press it and you hear just the wet, it's very glitchy and stuttery. But if that is the thing you're after, so be it, it does that too. So that's the beat repeat effect. And it's assigned on the master track on the octave track. The octave track has 8 tracks, but one of them can be selected as a master track. Then the 2 effect blocks will be your master effects. And that's how I did it, yes.
There was one thing you did at the end where you sort of like destroyed all the sound and the digitone. It was like something crazy. Could you explain the
sure. The digitone and the digitact has they got multiple tracks. On this one you have 4 tracks, and whatever track that you're focused on, you can tweak it by using the knobs. But if you hold this button here, you will change the 4 tracks at the same time. So it's like having an octopus arm all of a sudden when you hold that button. It's quite trippy and really, really cool. So when you do that, you can just, hold that button, go like this, or even put a sausage in middle of the button notes. And if you go like that, that's an office joke. It was a very in joke that I was very glad to introduce it here. We always joke about putting sausages in encoders. Imagine that,
Electron sausages.
So when I was doing that, I was editing the synth page. So on the synth page of the digitone, you have the operators, the 4 operators, and they're like oscillators. They produce sine waves. And when you change the frequency of them all at the same time, you get this messed up effect. And once you start switching to other pages such as filter, delay, reverb, LFOs, and do this sausage trick, man, it's crazy stuff. It's nowhere else to be seen almost. It's like, it's so intuitive and very close to the heart and the brain at the same time. I think it's the man-machine interaction is very important, and these ones really excel at that.
So what was happening with your sample?
yeah, why did Octatrack mess up? Yeah, yeah. And we were talking about that. I think it was with you, why my samples aren't in sync. Right. What happened is here is that the Octatrack has got 8 tracks, and each of the track can play it back its samples time stretched. So anything that you fit in here, put in here, can be synced up to your BPM. Sounds great, right? But it didn't. So what it is that you have a lot of parameters to actually make sure that this works correctly, or you can do tricks with them. So you have these parameters that is on the page, and they're the buttons are here. So when I was going around, I accidentally changed some of the values, which then as a result, it changed the speed of the sample, which then it was totally out, as everybody heard. And I was like, what the hell? But then, that's the first thing that I looked at, is that, oh, are the parameters in the correct position? Yeah, they are. So what actually happened is, you have this awesome fader on the Octatrack. So you can hold, let's say, when you push the fader, you want to have pitch and filter changes. How do you do that? You hold the button and you assign the changes. It's so very easy. But what happened here is that when I was so fast, fiddling around, I accidentally pressed that button and changed some of the speed settings. And so it was assigned, the speed was assigned to the fader, which made things much more crippled. But then when I noticed it, it was very easy to clear that. So it was like, yeah, fuck off. So that was the issue. It was user error. Because I was like, damn, this has never happened. This is not a bug. It can't be. And it was a user error, yes. Yeah. Which is a shame. Well, not a shame. It's just, yeah, you learn, you know. I don't know. What?
I have a question for you, Cenk. How do you think about your music when preparing it live in terms of breaking it down into layers so that it sounds very finished? So, for example, with the rhythm, you're only using a mono output.
Yes.
So that doesn't really invade the mix so much. It sort of has a limited slot that it kind of fits in. How many different layers do you think about with your music? Like, I need room for the kick, room for the snare, and room for the pads. Because it sounded very, very balanced. Everything sounded really mixed. Nothing was fighting over anything.
Thanks. Yeah, that's surprising to hear because this is kind of shortly put together. Yeah, there's a lot of. I think there is, like, for me, it's not layers, but it's actually frequencies.
Okay.
Yeah, because the kick and the bass can be the same layer if they're at the same frequency. If the bass is too low and the kick is a bit more poppy, then yeah. So I think that's the way that I would see it. But if we talk about layers, there is definitely the 3 things I'd say. It's the beat that really attracts your attention, the melody that gives you the feeling, and something else that puts it together. And this is what the setup translates into, you know, melody, bass, and that puts it together. I think that's the way that I would go with. Look into it. But talking about that, more about that is it's more like mixing now, isn't it? That's what we're talking. I really pay a lot of attention in the Octatrack to get the sound levels right, because this is the mixer. It's the final thing. And that's how it really puts together, I think. The Octatrack is really good at that. Yeah. So somehow it just glues everything together. And you can even take it further by assigning effects to the master track. I haven't done so this time. You can assign a compressor or an equalizer to be for, you know, change the stuff around. Yeah, but in this set, the layers would be is that the bass and the pads was totally digital all the time. There was no melodic stuff coming from them. And here it was the jungle and drum and bass type of samples, like double timed, 80s drums. And then the beats, the heavy beats was from here. So that's the 3 layers I would say I was really focusing on. And shamefully, I didn't program much of the rhythm patterns. I just looked at what I had. Oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. The main work I was doing on the set, it was them two. It was like, how do they work? This was kind of a complementary thing. Yes.
Do you game stage your stuff before you play live?
Ooh, what do you mean?
Like, do you set your levels at a certain location before you play? Like the kick, like watch it where it's at, and make sure that, you know, other things are.
Yeah, I actually rely on the mix that I have done previously, and then well, in a room like this, it was great because I could hear exactly what you guys are hearing. But yeah, some club sucks, and yeah, you just do wrong things. And then they look at you thinking that you should play very nicely, but you can't because the sound system isn't good. Because then they think that I'm doing the same thing as a DJ does, plugging a USB, but it's not the same thing. I don't know why I'm going into that, but in this case, like I was asking the sound guy, I said, just turn it as loud, quite loud. So then I have a lot of headroom. I really pay attention to that. It's very important because if you run out of headroom, especially with the Octatrack, you can start clipping the inputs, and that it's not only clipping, it kind of degrades the whole thing. I really need to have a lot of headroom. That I really pay attention to that. Very important. So if I'm at home, like it's 9 o'clock is okay on the master level. Here at the gig, I would expect at 12, so that I have a lot of room to actually make it higher in the mix or lower in the mix. If I start at 9, that means that I am already like near clipping the Octatrack inputs, which is the mixer. And if I want to hear the digitone more, I will crank that up. Or like, this is in the red. So, is that what you were asking, kind of?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Because when I play live, I usually like to look at the frequencies of where my kick is hitting, where my bass is hitting, where my.
I can't see that detail. I don't have any kind of LEDs, unfortunately. I would love to see that, and that's what I find really useful with the Overbridge, actually, which is out now. Advertisement. That's another thing. If you run the standalone plugin that you guys will see or you've seen already, you get to see all the channels individually, which I wish these machines produce, but they don't have that. They have other things. They don't do that. So yeah, it's really lacking. What you're asking is something that I hope it's going to work out. And like I said, in clubs, sometimes it doesn't. And I have a really bad experience. You carry all this gear and it's like, the monitor is nothing to do. The sound engineer doesn't understand what you're doing. He's confused. He's like thinking, why did you bring this gear? Can't you just bring a USB key? Yeah. So it's very bothering. What you're saying is a very important thing, but I'm a bit crippled with that. And I couldn't even understand your question at first properly, so I don't really pay attention to that side of things. I just try to make it sound as good as I can. That's the intention. Yeah.
Are these tracks out? Do you have like any way to download these tracks?
Download the...
Like, do you have these like...
The one that I played right now?
Yeah.
No, like I said, I just made this yesterday and today. Yeah.
Bandcamp, though.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube, Bandcamp. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And this is a style that I've lately been really into, actually, since New Year. I had a mega trip at New Year's Eve, so I was like, damn, this is good. And I hear a lot more than what I used to hear in this type of music. So that's making me very curious with this thing now. So yeah, I really want to do more stuff like this, actually. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, it's getting me very excited. I was actually very bored of the music that I was making recently. But again, yeah, it's like 128 BPM or something. So I'm really happy to find this random path that all of a sudden it happened. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Your music is clearly melodically focused. Do you start with your melodies when you're writing? Do you start with the beat? Some people start one way or the other.
Very good.
You start with a bass line. How do you approach it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's usually the melody. That's the one that I really want to understand first. But on the other hand, it could be like, yeah, I just somehow, when I'm talking to or doing something, I just put a few steps and it sounds really good. All of a sudden, it's a beat, and then I would start with the beat. But I think usually I always try to get the melody right. I really like the melody stuff. Because once you got the melody right, putting the beat is very easy, I find it, at least for me. I find it much difficult to write a melody on a beat. Yeah, that's what I notice. Yes, it's And for me, what I find easy to be creative is separate them, use the machines at once. Like I actually, the stuff that we were hearing, I was making it on the plane coming here on the Digitone with a little battery. So when I listened to them where we're staying, I was like, oh damn, these sound really good. Just play with the mix of it and make it sound nicer. Yeah, it was so good. So yeah, the melody is the one that I think really ticks me off. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you very much, everybody.
Latrobe with Electron.
Yes. Woo!
I also want to thank Noisebug again for hosting this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to give you my Instagram. It's Travarsi Official to find out more information for the next show that we're going to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Show me the routing before you. Show me the routing before you take it over.
Q output.
The Q out. Okay. So it's Octatrack that's going in here. Oh, because your mixer. Well, I know. I know that.
So the Q output is this.
Yeah.
This
the
one.
splitter table.
It gets
Hello.
split into input here, input there, and then input. It's very ghetto, but it works.
It works.
Phenomenal expertise.
Thank you, man. Thanks for coming, dude.
Yeah, seriously, it's great.
We should want to get some more chords.
Is that? He's got his specs going to the track on the house.
No, all the effects are coming out of the Octatrack.
You know, but like, do you have like a dry signal and a wet signal? Coming out off the track with the dry signal.
So you got the new tracks?
Machines?